Yo, what is up, everybody? EH Bricks here, back again with a new episode of EH Films. Welcome to the podcast. If you've never been here before, I am EH Bricks, your host, and this is the podcast where myself or other people talk about film and film-related topics. I am all by myself this week. But I'm hoping to put out a second episode this week as well, because I didn't really have a good idea for this podcast. So I ended up seeing the trailer for The Lighthouse, which was a Cannes Film Festival film that was shown there, and it stars Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. And the trailer was just released today because it's going to be released in theaters sometime. I'm not entirely sure when. But that kind of sparked my interest to talk about my most anticipated movies of upcoming 2019. So I have a few, and I wanted to talk a bit about them. Since I'm gonna do two different, since I'm gonna be doing two different, podcasts this week, I decided that I want to, that I kind of want to, do one that's a bit shorter, and this will be the shorter one, because there's some that I like, and then there's some that I'm pretty kind of optimistic about. So there's a good number of movies that I'll be talking about here. I'm just gonna go through. It doesn't matter what type of movie it is. It's just some movie that that I'm somewhat interested in. So as of recording, it is currently July 30th, and it will probably be, this podcast episode will be probably uploaded the exact same day as well. So there are a few that I wanted to bring up that I haven't seen already, that are already out. The Art of Self-Defense, Midsommar, and that's it, because I just saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I loved it. I think Tarantino isn't at his best here, but it's still a very good Tarantino film. So I'm kind of going through the list of the movies here to kind of refresh my mind. First one that I see, Friday, August 9th, so in a little bit more than a week. We got Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's a Guillermo del Toro film, and I really love his art style, kind of, and the way that he presents his movies. It's a very artistic and very weird kind of style that he puts to each of them, which I think is very cool. I'm a big fan of Pan's Labyrinth, and The Shape of Water was also very good as well, as he did win Best Picture. So, or was it Best Picture or Best Director? It might have been Best Director, but I'm pretty sure it was Best Picture. So I'm always a big fan of his films. He always grounds he always makes the unusual and uncanny valley seem very grounded, and as I have read these books when I was younger, I'm very excited to see what he has to offer in this movie. So I'm quite excited for it to come out. It has Jeremy Ray Taylor in it, I think. Just making sure. Who starred in it. which might be on the list as well. Let's see. It has basically it has mostly a whole kid cast. I don't think it does. It stars Zoe Margaret Coletti, Austin Abrams, Natalie Gansholm, Gabriel Rush, Michael Garza, Austin Zadger. Yeah, so I don't think he's in this. I thought he was, but I guess not. But it's, from what I can tell, it's about like, these kids find a book and it has, stories about, kids that they know and like stuff that's going to happen to them. So they have to try and prevent that stuff from happening. Which is a little bit similar to the. I'm guessing that they take the book that we all know and love. But yeah, I'm very excited for that. I probably won't see it right when it comes out. I might wait a bit, maybe see how the reviews look, kind of. I don't know. There's something very interesting about it, and something that I didn't expect to see made into a movie for a while. I was thinking about seeing The Kitchen. It's the one with Melissa McCarthy, not Rashida Jones. What's her name? Let me see. The Kitchen. I'm kind of doing this all as I go. It's based on the DC Vertigo comic book series. Tiffany Haddish. There we go. So, it's a mob drama. I personally, I'm not a big fan of Melissa McCarthy. I never found her funny, really, before. Elizabeth Moss is also in that. So, if you've seen Us, you might recognize her as Tim Heidecker's wife in that. But, so it's the three of them. It's based on the Vertigo DC comic book series. I personally don't find Tiffany Haddish all that funny. I don't find Melissa McCarthy all that funny. I think Elizabeth Moss is okay in some things, but this is more of a crime drama esque film. So I know that Melissa McCarthy got praised for a more dramatic role, I think this past year. So I haven't seen that movie that she was in. I don't fully remember what it was. I remember her being nominated for the Golden Globe, I think, for Best Actress. So that's definitely something. So maybe she's better in dramatic roles. I'm not entirely sure, but I never liked her in any comedic role. So I don't know a whole lot about that. I saw the trailer and it looks alright. I'll probably wait for it to come out on DVD or something. The Angry Birds movie 2. I'm not excited for that. I'm just kidding. Don't worry, guys. I don't know how they have a second one. I'm very confused. And then, so we're moving into September, because I don't really have a whole lot of, a lot of these movies that I have heard of, are not very, good ones that I'm excited for. And then some other ones are very, independent films. So I might check those out. I've been getting further into independent films because the style of them is very unique, even though some of them fall very close to each other. Moving into September, we have It Chapter 2. Now, I'm very excited for It Chapter 2, as I was a very big fan of Chapter 1. I've read the book, but I love the style that Andy Muschietti, I think is how you say it, put on here. I like it taking place in the 80s more, because the 80s is a very marketable time nowadays. Personally, I like it more in the 80s, because the original, when they're kids at least, takes place in the 50s or 60s or something. But I was a very big fan of Part 1. Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, it was fantastic. He was very threatening and very psychotic, and he played his role perfectly. I'm surprised he didn't get nominated for at least like supporting actor or something, because I think his performance was fantastic. The cast of child actors, Finn Wolfhard, Sophia Lillis, and Jaden Lieberher being the standouts there. And also you had Jack Dylan Grazer, who played Eddie. I think those four have been the ones that have had a more successful run, I guess. But yeah, so that's kind of something that I am very excited for. We have Chapter 2 has the adults, which may be interesting. I'm somewhat excited. Like Jessica Chastain plays Beverly. Sometimes I can't remember their names. Bill Hader plays Richie, which is very, very cool. James McAvoy, who just came off of Glass and Split, you know, the Shyamalan saga or whatever it's called. So he's a pretty big name right now. But those are the three standout actors here. Bill Skarsgård is returning as well as all the kids, to do some flashback scenes. I don't know how often they are in the movie. I just really hope that the adults can support or hold up this this kind of series, because it would really be disappointing to watch it crash and burn, and just really fall, like after such a great start. But this movie is almost 3 hours long. It's like 2 hours 40 minutes. So I think that's good, because I feel like they're gonna include more things from the book, which will be nice for Stephen King fans. But yeah, so I'm very excited. There's also supposed to be a director's cut coming out, which I saw in a recent interview or something, where the cut will be like 4 hours long. So I'll definitely buy that on DVD or Blu-ray, actually, and see what the director's cut has to offer, because 4 hours, it'll probably be a bit intimidating, and it will probably lack a bit, but I'd be excited to see what they'll be leaving out, as in 2 hours, an hour and a half plus of content. So yeah. So, and then the next Friday, September 13th, we got The Goldfinch, based off the best-selling novel. Now, I'm very excited for this movie as well. I haven't read the book. My mom has, but it looks very interesting. Sorry about that. The basic kind of synopsis is about this kid named Theodore, who, when he was a child, he was at this museum of art, and his mother was killed during a bombing. So the tragedy kind of changes his life, and it says, sending him on a stirring odyssey of grief and guilt, reinvention and redemption, and even love. Through it all, he holds on to one tangible piece of hope from that terrible day, a painting of a tiny bird chained to its perch, which is where the finch comes from, because a finch is a type of bird. It stars Ansel Elgort, Finn Wolfhard, Sarah Paulson, Nicole Kidman, Luke Wilson, Aneurin Barnard, and Jeffrey Wright. So I'm very excited for this. Finn Wolfhard is back again, back-to-back Fridays for him. But I'm very excited. I've heard very good things about the book. So I really hope that this movie can live up to what the book had to offer, even though I haven't read it. And now, maybe if it turns out to be good, I think either way it might inspire me to go and read the book. So that's kind of all I have to say about the Goldfinch. Then we got the next Friday actually, we got Downton Abbey, which was originally a show on PBS, so I was a very big fan of that show, and they're basically, I'm not entirely sure what they have, so they have a good amount of the cast from the show is returning for the movie. But it's basically just about this family called the Crawleys, who lives in Downton Abbey. It begins somewhere in the 1910s, and they live in this giant mansion, kind of, and they act as servers. So, let's see. So it kind of follows a little bit like the first episode. It follows after the sinking of the Titanic, which leads them back to their country home, and his mission, Lord Grantham, who is one of the main characters, his mission in life was to kind of see his family heritage and kind of understand it better. So it's kind of about his family and basically living in this Edwardian type mansion. There's dames and like servers and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of stuff that goes down in the show. You can't really sum it up all in one like thing, all in like one little explanation, because there's so much that goes down. People die and stuff, but for the movie though, I don't know exactly what the synopsis would be. And it doesn't look like anyone else really knows either. I know there's a trailer out. I'm guessing they might just try and do the whole series again. I'm guessing they won't though. I think they'll probably just continue afterwards, after the show ended. But it's very weird to have a movie based off of a TV show when it ended in 2014 or 2015 or something like that. It's been almost 5 years, so I think that's a bit strange, if you ask me. But yeah, that's kind of what I have to think about that. Then we got Rambo: Last Blood. I don't really have any high hopes for this movie. I'm just interested to see how it turns out, because we haven't had a Rambo movie in forever. And Sylvester Stallone is back in the role. So, I don't know. I mean, Creed turned out well, but that's because they had a younger cast as well to rely on. So, I'm not entirely sure what this movie is about, but I might end up seeing it. It looks somewhat interesting. I'm very excited also for The Report, which is another movie that comes out that week, starring Adam Driver. He plays a Senate investigator, Scott Z. Burns, and it's basically just a journalism thriller. I haven't seen the trailer, but I've read some news about it, and it does look very interesting. So that's kind of all I have to say about that as well. So I'll definitely go and see that. I think it's an Amazon Prime movie. I think so. Then we can move into October 4th. We got Joker. Now I'm very excited for this movie. I really hope it doesn't suck. I really hope it doesn't suck, because there's so much potential here for it to actually be something interesting and something unique that most of the MCU hasn't been so far. So I'm very, very, very interested in this movie. I'm very interested that they don't really care at all. Todd Phillips doesn't really seem to rely too hard, or too he isn't too lenient on, like, just always having the comic there. He's very lenient on just doing his own thing, which I think is the better way to go, because I think creating something that no one has seen before is definitely a lot more interesting. It's produced, surprisingly, by Bradley Cooper, which I was very surprised by, as I'm not entirely sure why he's attached to this, if he has some sort of relationship with Todd Phillips, if they're friends or something. But it's very interesting to see him also on the crew. But it stars Joaquin Phoenix, Zazie Beetz, Robert De Niro. It's very interesting. I love Joaquin in a bunch of different films. He's always been a standout actor with these movies that he's been in. Gladiator was an example, even though I didn't personally like Gladiator. Her, You Were Never Really Here, I thought was interesting, very interesting movie. But Her definitely was a standout. So yeah, I mean, I think he's a phenomenal actor in most things that he's in. He was my only favorite part, or whatever. He was my favorite part in Gladiator, because that movie actually sucks hard. Like, it's not good at all. At least in my opinion. But yeah, I think it's very cool that he is in such a role like this, because you don't really see him in something as fragile and kind of misshapen as the Joker. So I'm very excited. This movie has a ton of potential, and I'm really looking forward to it. I really do not want to become disappointed. If I become disappointed, I'm probably never gonna watch another DC movie ever again, or like at least in the DCEU. Even though this kind of isn't in that world, like the Batman solo film. No, I'm not, because this has to be at least somewhat good, because there's just too much potential for it. Got Gemini Man, Addams Family, which I am not looking forward to. I think that looks not good at all. Zombieland 2, which looks mediocre at best. An untitled Ben Affleck movie, so we don't know what that is. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, which does not look good as well. I was not a big fan on the first one. But, you know, at least they're doing their own story and thing. Kind of, instead of just remaking a movie. Then November 1st, we're moving to November. We have Terminator Dark Fate. I've only seen the first and second Terminator movies, so I'm probably not going to see this one because I feel like the timeline is so convoluted and so crazy that I have no idea what it's about. So, like I saw the trailer, I think, while seeing Far From Home, and I've never been so confused in my life. Like, I'm not even kidding. And then we got, not really I don't know if I should call it a biopic, but it's Focus Features, Harriet, which is about, Harriet Tubman and, her escape from slavery through the dangerous mission she led to liberate, all the slaves through the Underground Railroad. Basically anyone who's, past like 4th grade should know about the Underground Railroad. It's basically just about her story, which I think is very interesting. I think it's a story that that should have been told a while ago. So it stars Cynthia Erivo, Joe Alwyn, and Leslie Odom Jr. Not too much. I saw the trailer. It looks interesting. But, yeah, that's basically all I have to say about that movie. It's very interesting. I'm probably not going to go see it first week. I'll probably wait a bit. But, other than that, let's keep going down. We have Doctor Sleep, which is kind of the spin-off sequel to The Shining, starring Ewan McGregor. Very excited for this. I'm a big fan of the first movie. Very excited for Doctor Sleep here. Because I don't know. I'm a big fan of Kubrick and his original work here. So I'm excited. I don't want them to like excessively pay homage to the movie, because I feel like that could ruin it in a way if you're relying too much on the original. But I think it's very interesting. It's based on the book of the same name, which is a sequel to the book The Shining. So it's kind of like a full circle there. This comes out a day before my birthday on November 8th. So I'm probably going to end up seeing it for my birthday. Maybe, who knows. But it's about Dan Torrance, who was the kid in the first Shining, or The Shining, who has the gift of the shine, or he has the power to shine, which is, I think, what it's called. But he's still traumatized by the events that he suffered through at the Overlook Hotel when he was a child, or when The Shining took place. So It says his hope for a peaceful existence soon becomes shattered when he meets Abra, a teen who shares his extrasensory gift, of the shine together, and they form an unlikely alliance to battle the True Knot, a cult whose members try to feed off the shine of innocence to become immortal. So I think it's very interesting being a fan of the first. I've read a bit of the actual book, The Shining. I have not read Doctor Sleep. So maybe I should do that before. If any of you guys have read it, maybe you guys could sway me to go and, finish or read this book. But I think it's very interesting. I really hope it doesn't suck. I'm a big fan of Ewan McGregor for multiple reasons. I think he's a very good actor. I love him in Big Fish, which is one of his movies. Trainspotting is also a very good movie. Fargo is a very good TV show, in my opinion, even though I haven't watched it in quite a while. He was in the movie The Impossible, which was the one with Tom Holland, and the one that people made memes of, I think, with like the disaster, and that's an okay movie. And then he was in the Star Wars prequels, which are frowned upon a bit, but I think he's definitely a highlight in those movies. He does an exceptional job. And as of late, Christopher Robin in 2018, which I also saw and enjoyed quite a bit. And Big Fish as well, Tim Burton's Big Fish, which I also enjoyed. But yeah, he's a very competent, he's a very good actor, and you can always count on a good performance from him, at least most of the time. It depends on the script. November 15th, we got Charlie's Angels. I really want to see this movie. It's really good. I really love it. I really love Charlie's Angels. No, I really don't. This movie looks awful. I mean, you can tell when people are like groaning when the trailer ends at your theater. That was a very interesting sight to behold. But we got Ford versus Ferrari, starring Christian Bale. I really am excited for this movie. I love Christian Bale. But it stars Matt Damon and Christian Bale, and it's directed by James Mangold. It's basically about these two automotive people. So we got Ken Miles, who is the actual race car driver, and we have Carroll Shelby, and they fight for corporate interference, the laws of physics, and their own personal demons to build a revolutionary vehicle for the Ford Motor Company. Together they plan to compete against the race of cars of Enzo Ferrari, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Hold on, let me see here. Give me a second. Yeah. So they have to work together, and they have to challenge Ferrari at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1966. So I don't really know much about this movie. I've seen the trailer. It looks interesting. But yeah. So I'm kind of going off of what I just have here. So I'm sorry about that. But yeah. So I think that's very cool. And I'm excited for that movie. I think Christian Bale always just puts on a great performance. Then we got Friday, and we got November 22nd. We got Frozen 2. I'm not a huge fan of the first Frozen, but I'll probably go and see Frozen 2 because the trailer is actually somewhat surprising to me because it's not very pandering or anything. I don't know anything about the story. I don't think anyone else does really either. As far as I know, it's the same cast. So there's really nothing much about that. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, starring Tom Hanks, which is it? I think it's a biopic, right? It counts as a biopic, right? Because it's about their life, but as like a different thing, but like with different actors. I don't know, but Tom Hanks, I think, puts he's a believable he's a believable Fred Rogers. So to me at least, I think to a lot of people as well. So I don't really know much about this movie. I saw the trailer, and I'm a big fan of Won't You Be My Neighbor, which was the documentary that was put out last year, actually. Around this time is when it came out. But it was also about Fred Rogers' life. So it's basically just discussing his life, mostly as this TV personality, and teaching children to be the best person that they can be, and to love themselves for who they are. So very excited for that, as I'm a very, very big fan of Fred Rogers, or Mr. Rogers in general. Knives Out. Very excited for Knives Out. Starring Chris Evans from Captain America fame, so it's good that he is getting more work as well. Directed by Rian Johnson, who I was a very big fan of from episode 8. Yes, come at me. I don't really care. I think this movie it's fairly dark, but I really like it because it adds a twist of comedy too. So it also stars Daniel Craig as well, of James Bond fame. But it's about a crime novelist named Harlan Thrombey, who was found dead at his estate just after his 85th birthday. The inquisitive and debonair detective Bernard Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, is mysteriously enlisted to investigate. From Harlan's dysfunctional family to his devoted staff, Blanc cannot freaking speak. Blanc sifts through a web of red herrings and self-serving lies to uncover the truth behind Harlan's untimely death. It's a Lionsgate film, responsible for John Wick and your most recent Hellboy movie. So this can either be a good film, or it can be a bad film. I'm leaning towards good. I think it has a lot of potential. Has a very star-studded cast with a lot of big name actors such as Chris Evans, Ana de Armas, Daniel Craig, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Michael Shannon. But yeah, I think this movie could be pretty good, or it could not. So it really depends. So then we got December. We got the Jumanji sequel, which I don't really care for. And then Friday, December 20th, we have Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. It's all done after here, except for all the spin-off films and all the solo movies that we'll have. And maybe another trilogy if we decide to, which we probably will because we love making money. We're getting Episode 9. I'm very excited for this movie. We've only gotten that one trailer, which I think is good enough. I don't think we need another trailer. That's enough to hype me up. But yeah, I'm so excited to see, because this is the end of the Skywalker saga, which we have. It's the only set of Star Wars films that we've experienced so far. We haven't experienced anything other than Rogue One and Solo that aren't the Skywalker saga. They're all a part of the Skywalker saga. So after this, it's going to be weird. It's going to be interesting to see what they have after this. And I really want to see how they wrap up 9 movies into one fitting conclusion. Or at least so we think. But really nothing else to say there. I'm very excited for that movie. I think it's going to be great. I really hope it's going to be great. I loved Last Jedi. That half that did enjoy it. But, yeah. So I'm very excited. We got Cats. The meme right now. Little Women, based on the book as well, I think. Is that right? It's a book. At least I think so. Yeah, let me look it up real quick. Is it based off the book? It might be. I think it is. But I know there's a... I think so. I know there's a like a TV show or something. Or like a miniseries as well. So. But we got Meryl Streep, Emma Watson, Timothée Chalamet, Laura Dern, James Norton, Bob Odenkirk. So we got a pretty star-studded cast there. Don't know too much about this. Haven't read the book. I might go and see it because I don't know. It's drama, but it's also a romance film, which is not my top. But there could be something good there. And then after that, that's about it. So that's kind of the whole thing. That's kind of all of 2019 here. So yeah. I think if I could put like my top 5, I guess, most anticipated, looking through all of them again, I'd probably go with Doctor Sleep is number 5. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, or Ford versus Ferrari, is number 4. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is number 3. Actually no, let's do I'll switch Doctor Sleep and It. So it takes number 5. Joker's number 2, and then we have episode 9 as number 1. Even though The Lighthouse also, hold on, The Lighthouse is not out on here. I just realized. I'm gonna do a quick search. If that would be on my list. October 18th, 2019. It says it's out, or that it will be. It's not. Yeah, it's not under the 18th of October. So I'm guessing it's gonna have a way smaller release than expected. So yeah, that would be number 3. So I'll switch it around again. It Chapter 2 is number 5. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, number 4. Lighthouse is number 3. Joker's number 2. And then Star Wars Episode 9 is number 1 on my list. Let me know what your list is or looks like down in the comments. But if you guys are interested and don't know anything about The Lighthouse, it was just recently shown at the Cannes Film Festival in Canada. It's another Robert Eggers film, famous for The Witch, and stars Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. It's very cool because it's shot on a 35 millimeter tape, and the aspect ratio is 1.19 to 1, which I read about, and I thought that was very interesting. So it has a very for those of you who don't know what it looks like, it's basically just like a box. It's like a box in the screen. So I'll maybe put up an example or something. So it's very it has a very big, as a boundary to it. It's very limited. So it used to be what some movies are viewed on, especially back in the 1900s and stuff, like the early 1900s. Some foreign films were shown like that. But yeah, so I'm very excited. It's a thriller horror type flick. It's a story about 2 lighthouse keepers, Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, on a remote and mysterious New England island, and it takes place in the late 1800s, and it basically is a it's kind of like a horror drama. It's like a drama thriller, basically. A lot of people say that it's the best film that they saw at the Cannes Festival. 9 out of 10. So I'm very excited to see. I really hope that it's shown somewhere in like a theater nearby, or like not too far, because this is probably a movie that I've been wanting to go see for forever, since I've heard about it and like the whole plot. So yeah, so those are my picks for movies that I am looking forward to for the remainder of 2019. So yeah, I kind of wanted to keep this shorter, but it's almost 50 minutes, so it's an okay length. But be on the lookout. Another episode of EH Films will be out later this week as well. I'm aiming for Thursday. But yeah, so I was very happy to make this list, kind of, or just talk about these movies that I was very excited for. So, yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode of EH Films. Hopefully I can get a guest or someone to just run this show with me for a good period of time. But yeah, so that's gonna be about it. I hope you guys enjoyed. More LEGO videos are coming soon. I know a lot of you guys want those more than the film videos or movie videos. And I agree, because I am a LEGO channel, so I should not be talking about film more than I post about LEGO. So I got some mocks. I'm working on my city tour, which some of you guys seem very happy about. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me here on this really fantastic episode of EH Films. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.